So I mean, overall, I'm not worried about where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going, but I do feel like sometimes it can be difficult to understand, and I almost feel like as comic book fans, or I have a responsibility to try to let people know, don't worry, this chaos is actually kind of normal. Well, hey, what's up, my know-it-alls? So this is a little different kind of show. It's still Mr. Know-it-all Reviews. Obviously, I'm joined with Mrs. Know-it-all. And what we're going to be reviewing is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, the first time I watched The Incredible Hulk, which is actually, if you look in timeline order, The Incredible Hulk technically came out like just before Iron Man. Iron Man is always classified as the first MCU movie, and it is. But then, so when they were both in production at the same time, you find out that at the time, that's right when Marvel and everything was rolling together and finally coming together into what would eventually become the kingdom of Marvel that it is today. And what you got was the phone call was made. Hey, do you have a minute? Can I borrow James Hurt? Can I borrow him and we can do this scene at the end? And that's where you get that Thunderbolt Ross. And then of course in walks Tony Stark. It's the tag on Iron Man, or not Iron Man, on the Incredible Hulk, and he's like, yeah, so I kind of prefer machines or whatever, blah blah blah, over this chemical stuff and the whole thing. Anyways, and you get the foundation. No idea it would eventually become the thing it is. What was your first? What was it like for you? The first exposure that because I know you said you just got finished before we turned the camera on, saying that I was the one who kind of pushed you and pushed that in that direction, and I totally did. I totally Stockholm syndrome her into it. The pandemic helped.
The first time he forced the MCU universe to me. Wow. He you're gonna watch Captain America, and I said, "Oh, okay."
No interest. I think we ended up skipping Captain America until a few movies later, when she was when there was nothing else, and she was like, "Fine, whatever," and I put it on because she had nothing about Captain America interested her at that time.
Yeah, now I'm just kind of can we bring him back?
That's awesome. That's funny. But so what did you think? Because remember, you're not a comic book person like
No, this is totally me, a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I just so what was your question?
No, what was your early first exposures? And I don't mean my exposing you to it, you wore me down.
They were fun movies.
Right on.
Okay, they were fun movies. I really liked all the Iron Mans prior to you.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. I liked it. So Iron Man kind of I got hooked in. I did not care for The Incredible Hulk prior to Mark Ruffalo doing it. I didn't like that movie at all. Where we got Abomination, believe it or not.
Sure.
That wasn't my thing. I didn't care for it. I don't know, whatever. But that's where I started.
Right
That's where I started, and then got more into it after that.
So nobody can deny that the Marvel Cinematic Universe started out in very, for lack of a better word, cinematically. And by that I mean the movies were there, everything else. You had your very first tag at the end of Avengers where you get giant purple man who turns around and and turns around and you oh! And even if you didn't know about the comic books or care who Thanos was, suddenly you were like, but there's no more movie. So wait a minute. So there's more. This is all interconnected somehow?
That was one really cool thing I have to say about the universe is that they're post credit scenes. Yeah. They have me I'm when we watch things like Loki or even WandaVision and She-Hulk, we make sure that, because those are series.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure that we're not missing something.
For sure.
The way.
Yeah.
And actually, then when we started to watch it, and when we watched everything in timeline order, this is before all that. Those post credit scenes really helped me as a fan and a moviegoer to put the pieces together.
Absolutely. So the thing I feel like a lot of people fail to remember, you have to know who Kevin Feige is. So Kevin Feige for years before becoming Lord and Savior Kevin Feige, Master of the Marvel Kingdom. He had produced and had his hands in everything from early X-Men to I think he even worked on maybe sometime in one of the Fantastic Four movies from before, and then all the other previous iterations, Wolverine and Logan and this and that. He'd been in the world, but prior to all that, he was a fan of comic books. He was a comic reader, he was a fan, but he came at it from the perspective of this is all rife for turning into something major and big. So what you got was every movie of the MCU became a hero story in a comic book and whatever else, and building up to the big event thing, which was eventually an Avengers movie. Next thing you know, everything moving forward, there's a couple of single one-offs, but pretty much it became Avengers at that point. Yeah. You know, Captain America Civil War was essentially Avengers 2.5. Okay, it was what it was. And so you had all these pieces that were being laid together, and ultimately we got to Infinity Gauntlet, and then we got to Endgame, and you got to see huge storytelling and potential, this and that, and now everyone was. Kevin Feige said himself in an interview before phase. He said the next phase, phase 4, will not. It won't even really be a phase, and he even said, he goes, "I wish we could come up with a new term." Because that's where they began to establish the series. Intermittent
fasting. You know, intermittent episodes.
Exactly.
You know what? You said something, and then I went like this to you. Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Well, it's not part of the universe that we speak of right now, that we're talking about right now. Again, I never liked the Fantastic Four movies.
So what's funny is I enjoyed them as schlocky movies. I thought the effects were fine. For the time period, they were good. The stories themselves kind of held up as Fantastic Four stories. I don't believe you got the grandiose nature of what the Fantastic Four could and should be, like I believe we are eventually going to get now.
I'm excited for it now.
Agreed.
If you would have told me they're going to do another Fantastic Four, I'm like, really? I didn't like the other ones. But I'm excited about this one, and probably because I have some hope that something's going to happen.
So next, I want to take a second and just kind of lay out for everybody. Moving forward, what we suddenly saw post-Endgame, WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier, eventually going to become Captain America and Winter Soldier, and all these movies rolling forward. And then we got Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, and you got and the show, and now we got Moon Knight, and you got She-Hulk, and all these things that are laying this groundwork for it. Hawkeye, I liked Hawkeye. Go back, watch the reviews. Matter of fact, I'll put a little card for review for Hawkeye right here. So you have to remember when we began moving into this other phase, people began to talk about Marvel's losing quality, this and that. It is not. Kevin Feige, in his brilliance, has brought, I believe, the full nature. I think this was ultimately part of his original endgame. Let's start big, get everyone's attention. Then let's begin to train everybody, and let's actually make this medium like comic books. WandaVision was her own comic book series, with each episode being an issue of a series.
Is that how WandaVision happened?
So yes and no. They took a lot. They borrowed heavily from.
You kept saying that when we were watching, like this from the comic book. Yeah, you were really excited about those.
There's it's the WandaVision or Wanda and Vision. I don't think it was called WandaVision. I think it was called Wanda and the Vision, and it was a series where she went into a little pocket dimension and created her little world. That's where she kind of
that's where we got. Right. Okay, that makes sense.
And you got her kids, but her kids were more like half between Vision and her. So like in their normal form, you saw red faces and the whole bit. They had to pretend and put on a thing to become look human.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, but they were more anatomically human than he is. If that makes sense.
Wow.
They were something in the middle.
No, that makes sense,
anyway, but each thing began to be its own series. So right now you've got, for instance, coming up, we've got this Werewolf by Night movie that's going to be on Disney+. So looking forward to seeing it. Werewolf by Night should lean very heavily into the Moon Knight mythos. So again, some of those issues.
And I liked Moon Knight.
Absolutely. I loved
never have heard of Moon Knight.
Right.
Never until they came out. And I'm like, this is really good.
So you're getting a lot of really neat things that are happening. You're getting also different things. We sat down and watched the first episode of Ms. Marvel as a family. Baby Know-It-All had no interest in it, and I thought she would have been the only one who would have. I had no interest in it because I wasn't their audience, and by that I simply mean I'm not a teenage girl. According to Baby Know-It-All, they were shooting for 16. They maybe sort of hit and missed the mark at 13. Like, it felt very juvenile for her, which is why she didn't want to watch it. So, but at the end of the day, that's okay. I knew there are a lot of people onboarding at that point, and they're going to move forward with the story.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing where they're going with these stories, whether I liked the series or not.
Then we got word that the big bad was going to be Kang the Conqueror. So and then there was the casting news, and ultimately what we saw when we saw the show Loki, we got introduced to Kang the Conqueror. We know for a fact Kang is going to be the enemy in Ant-Man Quantumania. We know based on some leaked imagery of Paul Rudd, Ant-Man's going to go through the ringer, if not potentially die in this movie. Now that, which will lay the groundwork for his daughter, Cass, becoming the new Ant person. And so it's one of those things where I see as a comic book fan, but it can feel tumultuous. There are people who are like, is there superhero fatigue? Is this and this? I don't think we'll ever really be superhero fatigue. Ask Comic-Con if the numbers have started to go down when people come in. Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Since the pandemic, I'm pretty sure they've grown twice.
Absolutely.
More.
So at the end of the day, I feel like, and then you get shows like She-Hulk and other things like that are purposely diverging from the normal categories. And that's okay, because it's all starting to tell a story. Is some of it muddy? Yes. But I want everybody to know this is how comic books are done. You get stories, individual things. Not everybody buys every title. Your mileage may vary. You don't have to enjoy every single thing. I love Spider-Man. I don't anticipate them doing a Spider-Man series anytime soon, especially with Sony and all those rights and things. But I feel like Spider-Man's doing a wonderful job of being both an involved, but also an encapsulated thing. Between Enter the Spider-Verse and the sequels that are coming up.
Which was awesome.
Amazing.
I did not think I was going to like that.
Groundbreaking.
And it was awesome, to the point where, like, we use some of the music for Baby Know-It-All's games.
Oh, totally. No, for sure.
That's some good stuff.
That's awesome. So yeah, it's really about understanding where the direction they're going in. So I want to make sure that that's sort of that was really the underwriting thing for me. So what is the state of the MCU? I think if you take each property on its own, the state is what it is. I believe eventually Kevin Feige is going to become very much like an editor-in-chief at Marvel would be, which is, is this working? Okay, no, then we're not going to continue that series, but the characters are still part of the groundwork and the DNA of the show.
I think that's important when we talk about, because you had to express that, so you had to kind of lay that groundwork for that part for me was, we're not going to get Tony Stark at the end of Endgame. We're going to get Tony Stark in Iron Man 1, like we did when this phase had happened. So absolutely. We might not care for Miss Marvel. I'm just using it as an example. We might not care for, but like in a couple 2, 3, 4 years, we're going to probably see a difference. Yeah. Maybe a movie. I don't know.
The Marvels.
Is that where they're coming from? Okay, the Marvels.
I don't remember if it's a series or a movie. Forgive me. I'll take a look, and I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments. But the Marvels is going to have Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel. Possibly, I think they're going to bring in the Maria Rambeau.
That would be awesome.
That character from
Maria Rambeau. Yeah, Maria Rambeau.
Because she's also a Marvel character. Meaning, I think she was actually Ms. Marvel for a while, and then she becomes Tachyon or whatever the character's name is based on her energy. But there'll be a group of people, and I'm down. I think it's going to be so much fun.
What about, now I call them at first I started calling them anti-Avengers, but either really...
The Thunderbolts?
Those two. Now, Baby Know-It-All nailed that one. Yeah, I think she did, yeah.
Absolutely. So she was calling it the Dark Avengers. By the way, that cast from the comic books, that is the Dark Avengers.
So where did the Thunderbolts come from?
So the Thunderbolts is a series that was... Okay, I don't remember the creators of it, forgive me. Baron Zemo, the character we know that we've seen.
Right.
Baron Zemo decides to create... it was right during... Okay, in the comic books, it was during Civil War. So during Civil War, you had the schism, same way you did in the movies, good guys who fighting each other, and one group doesn't want to register, the other group does. So in the meantime, the government, S.H.I.E.L.D. and them, they go to Baron Zemo and they say, okay, we're going to let you out. We need you to create a new set of Avengers for us. And they created the Dark Avengers. The Dark Avengers, okay, that's a lie. The Dark Avengers were created by Norman Osborn. He created the Thunderbolts, is my bad. The Thunderbolts was designed to be anti-heroes, people who were supposed to be rehabilitated villains. Under that, Baron Zemo was actually using them to get into the public. It was supposed to be get into the public's trust, whatever, and then eventually undermine things from within. that whole storyline got a bit muddy, and now the Thunderbolt is essentially Marvel's answer to the Suicide Squad. Kind of.
I was just gonna get ready to compare. Is that what we're?
That's more
okay,
or less,
DC's Suicide
but without
Squad.
the repercussions of being killed. It's just yeah, they don't need that that level of motivation.
Yeah.
Right. So I liked.
I'm looking forward to that. I am looking forward to Thunderbolts.
Oh, dude, give me Florence Pugh as the quote unquote new
Baby
Black Widow.
Know-it-all loves her.
Absolutely
loves her,
yeah,
and
so
I
good.
really liked the stuff that she did in Black Widow anyway, and in Hawkeye. So
her accent is brilliant, and she kept her accent way better than ScarJo ever did.
Yeah,
like for real, like she's really lean, and I love it. I love it. And so I feel like that's. Those ideas, having that whole roster of characters is really exciting for me. I'm always going to be in the bag for these things. If you've watched our She-Hulk reviews, you know I'm still able to look at them critically. But at the end of the day, you have to understand your mileage is going to vary in different things. Like comic books, just find the one that you like, and that's where you'll lean into. They are all going to be interconnected, but I believe the future is that you're going to see the movies begin to be event storytelling. I think we're going to get less and less individual character movies like we used to get. You still get a couple, I believe, but at the end of the day, it's mostly going to be driving this idea that the little stories that will build to Secret Invasion is eventually going to build to Secret War. And what do we have? Avengers Secret Wars. Secret Wars is the big event. Secret Invasion is kind of lays that groundwork and moves in that direction.
Are we going to see anything like we saw in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness? We were introduced to the Illuminati.
I believe we are going to get them in the future. I don't know. I think we're going to start to see our version, and in fact, we may end up seeing that our Doctor Strange creates the Illuminati in the MCU based on having met these guys. So his mentality
I totally can see that.
is going to be, let's do it right, let's do it better, let's bring in this person, that person, the other. I don't think you're going to get Sam Wilson, Captain America. If we get Steve Rogers back as old Cap, I believe that's where it could possibly be, is that he gets called to be on the Illuminati. Because the Illuminati originally...
Oh, okay. I'm like, what are you talking about? Okay, yes, the Illuminati. Okay. I went backwards. Like, why would we get Captain America for a Captain America movie?
No.
Sorry about that.
So, real quick, over under, and how much do you think we'll get a Steve Rogers cameo in the next Captain America movie?
I think we're going to get many Steve Rogers cameos. I think, and also...
We know for a fact, according to some rumored... I say for a fact and rumors in the same sentence, sorry.
I know for a fact that they're rumors.
It has been reported by several different outlets that Chris Evans has signed to make appearances. He has not signed up for movies se, as much as he signed up for a series of cameos. So chances are we will get. I believe we'll get old Captain America in the comics. After Civil War, Captain America dies at the end of Civil War and eventually comes back. Of course, when he comes back, he has no super soldier serum in his system, and he's an old man. But he's like old man with the full mind of he always had. So he's still a strategist. He's still a good leader. You know what I mean? He just can't heft a car anymore.
When we watched the What If series, we were talking about I think, and I could be wrong. Captain America at one point in the comics becomes the Watcher.
Oh, no.
Or did I get that wrong?
You got the wrong. Nick Fury. In
Nick
the comic
Fury,
books,
that's what it was. Okay.
White Nick Fury goes to the... Because believe it or not, there's a world in which Sam Jackson wasn't Nick Fury. Nick Fury used to be... we joke tongue-in-cheek and say Hasselhoff. So there was a really bad Nick Fury made-for-television movie where David Hasselhoff was Nick Fury. But that's what he used to look like. White guy, patch, little gray spots on the sides. And eventually in The Ultimates, which was a comic book series where the Ultimates established the 838 universe, which says Marvel happens today, and we're going to try as much to make it as grounded as possible. That's where you get the black leather outfit X-Men instead of colorful spandex suits. That's where you get Black Nick Fury, who even in the comics before the MCU introduced him, they made a joke that because the Avengers in the Ultimates is the government has to pay for it somehow, so the government licenses them out for movies. He's like, yeah, I heard they cast Sam Jackson to play me in the movie in universe, and that's
cool.
And that later on you find out that was there as they did that because the team at the time was like, hey man, I hear they're gonna make movies. Let's put thoughts in people's heads. You know what I mean? So that was awesome casting for them to make Sam Jackson. Anyway,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So all of this to say, go
I do have another question.
Yeah.
What this is where, like, when I was talking about Fantastic Four before, I really want a Fantastic Four with John Krasinski. I don't care. We know spoilers if you haven't seen Doctor Strange.
Multiverse of Madness, yeah.
No, I would love that. What are the chances? I mean, from your, like,
so
for us being in television, I want to know, like, what your perspective is. Like, what are the chances?
So Sam Raimi has said on the record, Sam Raimi directed Multiverse of Madness, in case you guys aren't aware. He has said that the John Krasinski casting was a direct result of fan casting, and because it was the multiverse and because the character was only going to be in a handful of scenes, they reached out and he did it. I don't know, but here's the thing. We were also told Andrew Garfield wasn't going to be in the Spider-Man movie, and he was adamant about it to the point of almost yelling at people and cussing him out. These guys know how to keep everything under wraps, and they are not afraid to lie to us to do it. I've long since stopped being mad about that. Absolutely.
Because
100%.
How else are they going to surprise us?
Yeah, we need to be protected from ourselves.
Yeah. Because we'll tear it apart before we even see it.
Yeah, but I definitely... as much as I would love to see him, I am going to take it on face value that might be the truth and allow myself to be surprised if it turns out not to be the case. Totally. Who wouldn't? You know, get him
that, Marvel.
But I think they've already cast somebody who they're claiming is going to be Reed Richards, which I'm down for. Whatever.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe doesn't need me to sit here and tell it what to do because he's doing amazing work.
I'm just a fan of John Krasinski.
I'm a huge fan of John Krasinski. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm moving forward. Some things I know I'm pretty sure we're going to get. They've laid the groundwork for Young Avengers, which was a series of younger people taking on the mantle and being a thing. We just heard about the news of Deadpool 3, which is in Deadpool 3 we're going to get Hugh Jackman.
About that. But that part, when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yeah. Quick thought about that. I believe that you're going to get. In fact, there's another YouTuber, Rob, over at Geek Culture Explained and Comics Explained. And one of the things he just recently said in one of his theory videos was that he believes that they're going to specifically lay out he thinks that Wolverine's going to end up being it's going to end up being Deadpool kills the Fox universe. Sorry. All that preamble just to spit that out. ADD brain. Gets backed up sometimes. And so that they're going to introduce Deadpool. He thinks they're going to introduce Deadpool possibly they could in Loki, and then see Deadpool take one of the little time jumpy thingies and somehow leave the Fox universe or whatever. I would love that idea.
I think that's pretty cool.
Totally. Take an opportunity, make it a cameo fest, have it be a commentary.
Right, we had that in Doctor Strange, so why wouldn't we have it in anything else at this point? Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
I mean, and you could literally just make it a giant, like, oh, we didn't get actual X-Men in the Deadpool movies, now you're getting everybody.
All of them.
You know, and just dump it all, and that's totally down. I think there's precedent for it. I think with What If, you could totally see it. I think you could get What If we're going to take Rob's theory to its next degree, I think you weave Deadpool through Loki, What If, and eventually back into
his.
Really smart. And it's funny. I joke, and I'm like, at the end of if at the end of the movie he arrives in our current MCU, it should totally be either similar to the Captain America waking up after 40 years scene, where he's like runs out and he's in the thing, and everyone and somebody, whoever it is, not Nick Fury, but someone stops and says, "Hey, what's going on?" This and that. He should be like, "Holy!" And then it censors it, like, because now he's in the MCU, and he could totally be like, "Really? Now you're going to say I don't get to," because it's something really funny metal
something
like that.
Breaking the fourth wall,
totally.
Deadpool style would be great. And I think it'd be cool if it was Colossus.
He's a big giant CGI Colossus. I would take him in a heartbeat. I don't know. I mean, seriously, you make us fall in love with big giant Colossus and that guy. I love that guy who plays him. Bring me. I want Negasonic Teenage Warhead. So help me God. Oh God. Why can't we get her?
Why can't that be?
Get her in
forget
the
Colossus.
MCU. No,
I want her when Deadpool wakes up.
Dude,
if that goes that way.
Oh, I would love it so much.
So, what are you looking forward to the most with this phase of Marvel?
I'm definitely looking forward to the Fantastic Four like everybody else, primarily because I feel like you have two options. I think we're too far ahead, too far along to start at ground zero and have some folks go into space and do a thing. I think you need fully realized Reed Richards, fully realized everybody with their powers, but how do you fit it into the cinematic universe that's been going and say, they were always here? I think you work it into somehow back in the 60s.
Oh.
I think you put them period. You do their first movie could easily be part origin story, but also that they've been doing this for a little bit, and then you have them do something. Kang should erase them from history, but they exist outside. They go to the Nexus, they go to a place. So the big thing of the Jack Kirby era when they were doing Fantastic Four was Reed opened up to like the nth degree or nth dimension or something, and they would travel through different dimensions. That's how you got this cosmic stuff. And I feel like you do something along those lines, and him leaving the universe, and Kang erases them. Like they escape outside of our universe. So the idea is they existed in the past. Have the Avengers building, the Tony Stark building.
So kind of like happening parallel?
So,
to Iron Man 1 to Endgame, would you say that they would do it all parallel up into the blip?
No. So they're out. They left our universe. They're outside of our universe.
Okay.
So they existed, and then Kang erases them. Remember, time traveler. Kang is a time traveler who manipulates time. So he's the ultimate conqueror at the end of everything. Losses, wins, the whole bit. Mm-hmm. So you have him because Kang was defeated in the past in ancient Egypt by the Fantastic Four. I think you have somehow this whole time thing happens. The Fantastic Four comes into Kang's because you have to have them involved. You have to have them. Yeah, ancient Egypt, and then you have totally.
Moon Knight shows up. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that one.
Oh, and does
that happen? Like, do they?
There's a comic book where an old rich, because remember Moon Knight is a title as a person,
right?
He's the one in the past ends up being the there is a Moon Knight in Kang's past when back then.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
you see more of that. Though.
I think it'd be very cool. You set that up. You have the Fantastic Four face him. He erases them from the Marvel universe. So now you justify how come we never knew, and then you also to loop it all back in. Tony Stark's building, the one with the big A and all that stuff that had Stark, have that be the Baxter building from back in the 60s. And then they renamed it. Now you have now you have excuse for when they come back, they want their building back. And then you get where we used to be the A becomes the 4. Because the building's already designed.
Oh, you're right. It is. It's already designed.
And then it becomes
that's kind of cool.
It becomes 4 Freedom Tower, which is what they call the Fantastic Four's building.
What I love about this whole new phase is I'm coming in like you came in with Iron Man 1.
Agreed.
So yeah. I'm like really excited because I got excited with WandaVision. I got excited with Loki. I got excited with Black Widow, Hawkeye, which I didn't know I was going to love that as much as I did. So I'm really looking forward to starting this journey at the beginning this time.
Everyone's looking for who the new leader is going to be.
Yeah, that's right.
It was Iron Man and Captain America forever.
Uh-huh.
I believe the sun has risen and set on the Avengers. Not that they're gone. They will not be the centerpiece. Honestly, I think you put the first superhero family front and center once you bring them in. And now, whoever ends up playing Reed Richards, he's going to end up being one of the big Mount Rushmores of the Marvel Cinematic Universe moving forward. You have him. You have whoever ends up playing Professor Xavier. You have the other guy, whoever ends up leading the Avengers, so to speak. The real Avengers when they finally have them again. But I think that maybe Doctor Strange even on some level. But at the end, essentially everyone who becomes the Illuminati. Go figure. So you have them be the new leaders moving forward in terms of driving things forward for a while.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Part 1. Where does Guardians of the Galaxy fall now? Because we have another one coming out.
I believe so. James Gunn has gone on record as saying that this is going to be the final movie in his trilogy, with the trilogy of 3 movies he had planned. Now, I believe we will still have a Guardians moving forward, but I think it'll be either a new group or because in the comic books, there's been 4 or 5 iterations of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. In that, not because of comic mistakes, like it's actually moved. So in the last,
like the characters that of Star-Lord.
Sure.
Those characters and Nebula and well, gosh, Thor, I guess even.
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
Thor was part of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
As Guardians of the Galaxy.
That was a comic
so
series.
Awesome.
It was a comic series called the Guardians.
So are they going to retire them? Do they retire them?
No, I think you simply say they go out. I think you have them deal with a major somehow that team needs to end.
Yeah, I was wondering how it would dissolve.
I think some of them
will
are
we
still...
ever just never know? Just assume.
We'll see. Right. I think you get to the end of that group. I think they'll probably still be through... that group will probably still be around through the end of Kang, or parts of them, through the Avengers Secret Wars and Avengers Kang Dynasty. I don't think you get them in Secret Wars. I think you get them in Kang Dynasty. By that I mean, I think they'll just be gone in Secret Wars. Because Secret Wars, if it's anything like the comic book, Secret Wars is... all universes become one planet, one Earth, and you end up with this driving story of those characters doing having to deal on one planet. So you get different, Captain America's. You have the Thor Corps, which is all the different Thors from all the different universes acting as police. Oh yeah, and Doctor Doom, who you still have to introduce. Doctor Doom is essentially God on Earth in this place because he's the one who defeated the Beyonders. Okay. Now, I don't know if any of this is going to be relevant because you got to remember. Infinity War and Civil War, the movie things, in name only and real fundamentally are like the comics. The Infinity War is like the comics because it has the gauntlet. In Civil War, there's factions arguing about registration. That's it. The events are all different. So I believe for a fact you're going to get these differences going forward.
Okay.
In the original comics, white Nick Fury discovers that the Skrulls are disguised as people, and he's the one who eventually, and I believe that's why Nick Fury's front and center in Secret Invasion. I believe just like those old comics.
Yeah, I forgot about Secret Invasion.
He's going to discover, that's a series. He's going to discover the Skrulls, and then we're going to get some stuff moving forward. I'm here, man. I'm here for it, guys. The state of the MCU is good.
My second question's two-part.
Good.
So in Endgame, we had all the women. Valkyrie, Pepper, all of them. They all did the Lady Avengers pose.
Yeah.
So, we haven't heard anything about Lady Avengers, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, so then my next one, where's Pepper? I want to know what happened to Pepper Potts.
She still runs the Iron Man company.
She still runs Stark Industries.
If we see her again, I believe it's going to be as a cameo in Ironheart. Because Ironheart, the premise
That's the other one. Ironheart, I forgot about that.
The premise of Ironheart is that there's a young lady. I don't know how they're going to do it in the Marvel Universe. She could end up being Wakandan, which explains her knowledge. That's how they explain her intelligence. But a young lady finds and reverse engineers Iron Man armor. The minute she does that, at this point in the comic books, Tony Stark is dead, but there's an AI like Jarvis was, where he downloaded his mind into an AI type thing. So this AI type thing, which exists now on the internet, detects Stark tech that is not Stark tech. So literally while she's building this thing, like
Tony's voice is going.
Yeah, her suit gets hacked by him. And he shows up and essentially is like, all right, well, at first he's like, all right, we're going to call the police and get this thing fixed. And eventually he realizes she's intelligent, and the Tony Stark in him is like, let's see how this goes. And like really support, because he's all about.
That's kind of cool that we're going to get cameo by Robert Downey Jr. That'd be cool.
I don't know if that's the case, but God, how hard would it be to be like, hey, can we get you on a green screen? I need you to be a hologram or mostly voiceover like Jarvis used to be. That's how you do that. And now we have Tony Stark. And he can be as young as he wants because he's a hologram and won't be full color. He'll be hologram bluey, whatever. You know what I mean? And I feel like seriously,
hologram bluey.
Totally. But So and I think if we get Pepper, it'll be there, and somehow, and she'll be the one who she'll be the one to legitimize Ironheart as the heir apparent to Iron Man. And probably even offer.
I want that more now, even more.
I would love to see Pepper not only introduce her, not only support her, but then make her like part of the Stark security, blah blah blah, which essentially just means she works for Stark Industries and they send her out on missions.
It'd be cool.
Yeah.
She becomes the mentor.
Why not?
For Ironheart.
Why not? She's got her own outfit. Remember we saw it?
I think that'd be great.
Have her even like run her through a test.
Even the purple one that their kid pulled out.
That's what I meant.
Oh, that's like she wore silver.
Yeah, she was Rescue.
In Endgame.
Rescue is that's that character's name.
I'd like to, if now total speculation. We both know, but if that were to happen, I want to see Pepper Potts and Ironheart the way Tony Stark was with Peter Parker.
Yeah,
that I think would be a great. And then plus if she has her daughter Morgan, they've got Morgan. So why cool. I remember these things.
Well, but this is kind of cool. I think Morgan would be a really cool supporting character. maybe she's not a genius. She's not like her father.
She's just like her mother instead. She's bright like her mother.
She's a normal, bright, energetic, very enthusiastic, but at the end of the day, she knows enough to know she's not that person.
Marvel, do you hear us? We totally just wrote a whole new series for you. If not a movie.
Right on. Anyways, is there any more stuff to cover in the State of the Union?
That was all I had.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see where we go with it because, like I said, I get to start this at the beginning of the journey this time instead of, jumping in. I forget when you started mentioning a bunch of the past things, or not past, the things coming up. I forgot about the Nick Fury invasion. Is that what it was?
Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion. I forgot about that. I forgot that we were getting a few more that you named. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right. We're getting all those, and I forgot.
I know that. So Blade just lost to the director. They're trying to find. They won't have a hard time finding a new director for the Blade movie because it's about to go into production literally like next week or something stupid.
That's cool.
So
and they lost their director.
Yeah, for creative differences, which usually means that the director wants to go somewhere that they don't want to go, and they amicably walk away. It's usually it can be used to fill in this guy's a jerk. We don't want to say he's a jerk, but normally, especially with Marvel and a lot of these guys, I believe it's much more that they just
all creative differences.
Yeah, just they want to go in a different direction than he wants to go in, whatever. But because you have a lot of, we haven't even covered all the Netflix stuff that came over.
Oh my gosh, Jessica Jones, Daredevil.
So what we're going to get Daredevil eventually, whether or not he's going to be in we saw him in Spider-Man, and we're supposed to get him in She-Hulk as a cameo of some sort.
I'm not going to hold my breath anymore.
Yeah, no kidding. Other than just a helmet. If he shows up at the last episode just to help,
I'm saying he's going to show up at the last episode. Well, no, this isn't that review.
No. Anyway, but I feel, and we are going to get John Bernthal's Punisher. They're recasting Elektra because this is not those characters from Netflix. This is the MCU version, multiverse. Remember, that's why Daredevil's going to have the yellow and red suit. So they're going to be those actors. We got Kingpin. We got him. We're going to get John Bernthal. I don't know if we're going to get what's her face
from Jessica Jones.
I know that I wish we would. I know we're getting
Jessica Jones.
Iron Fist. I do not believe it's going to be the Danny Rand version. If it's Danny Rand at all, Iron Fist. That we
never
currently
watched
have.
Iron Fist.
It's not worth watching. I mean, there were.
I watched Jessica Jones though.
The second season was better than the first season, but it's not great.
Yeah, I watched most of Jessica Jones.
I love Jessica Jones.
Most of Daredevil. I would like to rewatch those now.
Sure.
Since they were just to
Let's binge watch it.
Introduce myself to these characters, especially if they're going to be coming up again. At least I have some groundwork then.
So Marvel did a thing called Marvel. I think it's like Marvel by Night or something stupid like that. And the idea is that it was more adult versions of their stories, geared less geared toward less restrictions. Tell the story you're going to tell. Treat it like a movie, whatever else. And that's where you originally got Jessica Jones. That's where you got the Purple Man stories, all those things. So much more a grown-up, mature storytelling.
Not your fun. That was the unfortunate thing when it came to Deadpool was that it was not kid-friendly.
Right.
But definitely adult-friendly.
No, for sure. And so you're gonna get that. You're gonna get Midnight Suns, which is all these. It's Werewolf by Night. It's Moon Knight. It's Doctor Strange. It's gonna be Ghost Rider.
Are they? That was Ghost Rider. That'd be cool, and I can't wait to see that one. Are we gonna have a timeline like we do with the past Avengers phase? We know it started with Tony Stark and ends with but they all came out at different times. Are we going to have that again, or is it just here's this story, here's this story, here's this story, here's this story, and then we go into the next phase? We'll build then to that, or because when we do Marvel, because we do Marvel, we're going to start the Marvel series again. We'll start with Iron Man.
Yeah, we've been doing. I think the last two times we've done it chronologically.
Chronologically, which is good because as these series are starting to come out, Loki, WandaVision, we're able to start. So when WandaVision happens, it's right after Endgame. Mm-hmm. We start watching it right after Endgame. Same thing with Loki. Well, I say Loki, but Loki's just a side.
Sure.
He's a side sliver.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if once all these things come out from the next phase, if we can sit down then and do it in chronological order.
So I think we'll be able to. I know that Kevin Feige has expressly said that the series themselves, this phase has been about expanding the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay.
Because the Marvel Cinematic Universe has felt like it was only the Avengers and maybe Spider-Man for a while. Now he's like, okay, we're going to stretch. We're going to branch out. We're going to stretch out, and we're really going to make this. We're going to make it so that it's not just the Avengers. Here's Moon Knight and all this stuff. Here's all this cosmic stuff with the Eternals.
Because everybody
whatever.
forgets that. I mean, while the Eternals was not an amazing movie,
No.
it's still part of the MCU.
Correct. Well, even Thor established cosmic
even
beings.
Thor,
The new
yeah.
Thor movie that just happened, Love and Thunder, established cosmic beings and big things. It was about expanding the borders. I believe in preparation for the next stuff, because I think that
Okay.
when you got
I'll take it.
to the in the creative room over at Marvel Studios, I believe that they originally looked at and were like, okay, how do we go here? How do we go here? And everyone's like, ugh, this feels big. How do we get this not feeling awkward? And he's like, well, then we need to do something else. We need to lay the groundwork for this stuff.
Okay, and I think that's awesome, because then, like, for example, we know that She-Hulk then could maybe have a bigger role than in the next phase that they're doing. So I guess we could say this is all like introduction to new characters. This
Absolutely.
phase, I'm down. As long, not that I needed to know that, but it's cool to know that.
It is.
Now
No,
we're
I get
getting
it.
a second season of Hawkeye, right?
So my understanding is yes. My understanding is yes, we're going to get a second one. I don't know whether that's going to be the final one, but we're definitely getting a second one, because they have to eventually. You got to get Kate over to the Young Avengers. You got to get Kate. You got to get the Black Captain America's grandson.
What's her name? Black Widow's sister. I can't think of her name.
Florence Pugh's
her
character.
character.
Belova.
Yeah, her. That has to. Belova.
That's her last name.
No kidding.
The character's last name. Yeah.
The character's last name.
It is, because it's something Belova. It's
Elena
Belova.
Thank you. I couldn't remember her first name.
neither.
So you got to move them around and get them into certain spots. This is gonna. I think I'm gonna really enjoy this phase.
I think so too. I do. I like
the
it.
exception of She-Hulk right now. I think we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. I think it's gonna be okay.
So Tony Stark went on a journey which took him from being the playboy, recluse, whatever, to being the guy who doesn't know how to make the sacrifice play, to literally being the guy who sacrifices everything to save the universe. I think you're going to see the one thing the comic books have always done well is Reed Richards is a very tormented person, because he is, like Tony Stark, he's a futurist. Unlike Tony Stark, however, he believes everything in the world can be fixed if you think about it hard enough. And so at the end of the day, and that's both a good and bad thing. I believe, because his fight with Doctor Doom, because here, when you get the Fantastic Four, you have to get Doctor Doom, because the greatest rival in comic books of all time is Doctor Doom and Reed Richards. I believe you have to have Reed Richards go on a similar journey to what we did with Tony Stark, and go from being nihilistic, futurist, narcissist about his intelligence and what he wants to do, but at the same time, because he always feels like he can outthink problems. And you need to get him to a place similar to Tony, where Tony wanted to build a suit of armor to save the world, ruins everything constantly. I think you get Mr. Fantastic, who's trying to outthink the world's problems, and eventually he has to realize the trick is not to outthink it. The trick is to keep yo family. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, you go Fast and the Furious with it, okay? You know what I mean?
You did well on that,
Families
honey.
what matters
You
most,
did
okay?
really well.
Right. I think so that's why I believe he's going to be the one to lead, because Tony led the Marvel Universe because you were following his journey of understanding. Yeah. So there were two journeys happening parallel in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Iron Man was on a journey of discovering myself and wanting to not be the narcissist anymore, the playboy, whatever, finding the best from the worst. Captain America was how do you evolve and become a man out of time? How do you go from being in the 40s and that everything that world was? How do you go from being the guy who says there's only one God, ma'am, and he doesn't dress like that, okay, to suddenly being the guy at the very end who's like, hey, I don't know what else we're gonna. If we don't get all these people back, I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know what to do with myself. You know what I mean? Who eventually?
Yeah, I remember. He seemed so helpless.
He eventually. That's why it's so satisfying to see him dancing with Peggy Carter at the spoilers for Endgame. At the end of Endgame, because you're like, finally, you get to rest, bro. You get to be, and I feel like that's where you ultimately find.
I think Tony's death resonated with him with that, with trying to. I got a life like Tony suggests.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So, there it is. Then now you know. And if knowing is half the battle, you are halfway to being a know-it-all yourself. Would love to hear what you guys think about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We don't normally rate these things, but I think, you know what? Overall, I would like to say that I believe the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe currently, for me, averaging everything, series and all, is sitting about an 8. 8 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with you with that from a fan standpoint, and you're doing it from more of a creative and comic book standpoint. So as a fan, 8, easy.
Right on.
Easy. I probably would have said 8.5, but
We'd love to know your thoughts on the MCU and the state of the MCU. We'll talk again very soon. Don't forget to check out all of our reviews, Lower Decks, She-Hulk, all those, Andor. And by the way, Andor, we're getting for the long haul. That's 24 episodes, baby. By the way, for those of you at home, that isn't an extended season. For those of us who remember, that's just television.
24 to 28 episodes.
Always.
Easy.
Oh, yeah. Easily. So I'm excited for that. Anyways, all right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Never forget.
Everyone loves a know-it-all.
Take care.
Bye.